What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my co host, Will Cohen. Today, we have some trade discussions to talk about. A few days ago, Jacob Punturi of Sports Illustrated reported that there are three teams that are currently interested in trading for Kakko, and those teams are the Calgary Flames, the San Jose Sharks, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, we're going to dive into this, talk about these three teams that are a little bit interested in Kakko, who we might want in return. And we know we have one player in particular from the Calgary Flames that I think, or we think, that the Rangers should definitely be interested in looking into acquiring. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. But before we really get into it, Will, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. I know you're having a little bit of a rough morning. I cannot say the same, but I'm at my cousin's lake, so it's going to be a good day, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I feel terrible. But it's okay. That doesn't stop me from discussing the Rangers news. So let's just get right into this. Of the teams that are interested in trading for Kakko, really the only one that I find to be realistic would be the Calgary Flames. I would think if the Sharks were interested in doing something with the Rangers, probably would have happened around the same time as the Barclay Goodrow thing that went down, when he got placed on waivers, then was picked up by the Sharks. And then kind of the same thing as the Pittsburgh Penguins. I feel like if the Penguins were truly interested in acquiring Kakko, they would have just included him in the Riley Smith trade that happened a couple weeks ago. Obviously things changed. Maybe they weren't interested back then, and now they are, now that the offseason has settled a little bit more. But personally, in my opinion, I think that if Kakko is going to go anywhere, the likeliest option of the three would be the Calgary Flames, a team out west. As they didn't really make too large of a splash this offseason, I don't think, unless I'm blanking hard on something. I don't really recall them signing any big names.
Either.
So maybe, just maybe, their whole offseason plan is similar to the Rangers, where they're going to be taking the route where they go through some trades. So that's how I feel. I don't know if you feel any different about the realism of any of these potential suitors for Kakko, but if not, we can start talking about the Flames.
I mean, like you said, I don't think it'd be realistic for the Penguins. Like, why wouldn't the Rangers just include him in a Riley Smith in the Riley Smith trade? Doesn't really make sense for that, them to go back now. For the Sharks, I feel like could be a possibility because obviously, you got guys like Celebrini and Eklund and then Will Smith. So maybe having a guy like Kakko interest them because he's a little bit older but a younger guy kind of fits their timeline of what they want to be. So and maybe Kakko will flourish there because he has other younger guys, but I just don't see that happening because it probably would have happened around the same time as Goodrow. So, like you said, I do agree that I think the Flames are probably the most realistic option.
Yeah, so now that we've established that, I would like to do a little bit of a deeper dive into the Calgary Flames now. Obviously, as we all know, Kakko is a forward, a winger, but out of everyone who's currently on the Flames, the one player that we kind of think the Rangers should be targeting here, if anybody, is a defenseman. I want to talk about McKenzie Weegar. He's a veteran defenseman, 30 years old, currently tenured for 7 more years. So the contract that the Rangers would be potentially acquiring would be a lengthy one, would probably end his career at 37 years old right there. So that is one negative aspect just to bring up right off the bat, because I know we like to talk about staying young and kind of preparing for the future as well. But I do see a lot of tremendous upside in McKenzie Weegar. He's a great two-way defenseman, as we were just talking about before. Plays really good in the defensive zone, but also has some pretty good skills in the offensive zone. And, honestly, the Rangers defensive core, it needs a little bit of a tweak right now. We'll get into the whole money aspect of it in a little bit, but just based on the style of player alone, I think he would match really well for the Rangers. We have a couple of really good lockdown defensive guys like Lindgren, Schneider, and we also have a couple of really good offensive guys in Adam Fox. But we really lack a lot of good two-way defensemen. Keandre Miller kind of fits that mold, but to add another guy in there who's more of a veteran presence, has had multiple playoff runs, and knows what it takes to win. I don't think he's won it all, but
No.
maybe he could do it with the Rangers. So I like the type of player that he is. So I definitely think the Rangers should be interested. But we'll talk about the whole money aspect, mock trades, all that in a couple minutes. But I want to let you share your thoughts on Weegar and why you think he might be a potentially good fit.
I mean, he's a great two-way defenseman, good in his own zone. He had 52 points this year, 20 goals and 32 assists. I didn't realize he had that good of a year this year. I mean, yeah, he's 30 years old, but he's been putting up consistent numbers his entire career. Well, not early on, but the latter half of his career. But he's put up good numbers. So if you could get rid of a guy like Jacob Trouba and bring in McKenzie Weegar, I'd be all for it because I think that'd be a pretty good replacement for him. But he is 30 years old and would have 7 years left on his contract. So kind of ties the Rangers into that when they have guys like Miller and Lafreniere and Shesterkin up on the books next year. So it would be a little bit of a tough decision, but I think he would be a pretty good fit if they could, maybe trade that Jacob Trouba contract, be a good replacement.
Yeah, I mean, trading that Trouba contract would probably be absolutely necessary to even make this happen because as it stands right now, Weegar is making $6.25 million for the next 2 seasons. Obviously, as everyone knows, Trouba's making $8 million. So having 2 defensemen on your roster making that much, it doesn't sound too appealing, especially with Adam Fox up in the mix as well, because he's going to make a decent amount of money for the foreseeable future as well. Speaking of the Trouba situation, though, just another little update on that. Apparently, the way that it went down was Jacob Trouba submitted his no trade list, and then he saw the reports from Frank Saravalli saying that the Rangers were interested in trading him to Detroit, and then he changed his no trade list to include Detroit on it, which is a legal move. I'm not saying I agree with it. I think it's kind of like I can't even think of like a PG word, just he's a baby is what I'll say. Trouba's a big baby for that. But it is legal. So,
it's legal in the CBA. So you know what? He used it to his power. So good for him.
I saw a lovely comment on yesterday's video saying that this entire Trouba situation has been one really good lesson in contract law. And I feel like I agree with that. I know so much more about contracts now than I did in the past. So at least I learned something of it. But I don't know. I'm getting sick and tired of talking about Jacob Trouba every single episode. So I don't want to.
He's going to be on the team next year, so there's nothing you can do about it now. So
I don't want to dive too deep into it, but it is something that we do have to address just because of the whole money aspect. Because unless you can get Calgary to retain some of that 6.25, it doesn't really seem like a realistic option. But let's just say, for the sake of the discussion, the Rangers they find a way to clear that cap. When if they include Kakko in this trade deal, that's like another $2 million off the books right there. So then really only picking up around $4 million for the Weegar deal, which honestly doesn't even sound that bad now that I'm speaking it into existence. But for the sake of the discussion, let's say the Rangers are able to make it happen cap-wise. What are we giving up for him? Because honestly, in my opinion, if they're interested in Kakko, include Kakko in the deal. Really, the only upside I see in Kakko's play is the fact that he's pretty good at defense as well. But if you're picking up a solid defenseman, I don't care. Now, trading a forward for a defenseman straight up, it's not going to happen, in my opinion, especially because Weegar is much more talented than Kakko is. So you are going to have to sweeten the pot a little bit. You could say some draft picks, a couple prospects. I don't think Weegar's good enough for me to want to include Brennan Othmann in this deal whatsoever. But, maybe one of our mid-tier prospects, defensive-wise, we don't have too many. You have Matthew Robertson. Flames might be interested in him, but honestly, you might have to include a couple of offensive prospects as well. Bryce McConnell-Barker, Adam Sikora possibly, but I'm not talking Gabe Perreault, Brennan Othmann too much. We talked about Brett Berard yesterday. Maybe even he too could be included in that deal. But I think you're going to have to include at least one defensive piece. Maybe the simplest way to do it would just be Rangers acquire McKenzie Weegar, Flames acquire Kakko, Ryan Lindgren. maybe. I know we talked about it a bit before we started. I pitched the name Keandre Miller, and you were like immediately no. But
No, I'm not doing that. No.
But you like, I don't know. I like it's something that I would be torn about up until the day that the trade goes down, But you have to include a defenseman. It would be nice if that defenseman was Jacob Trouba, but I don't want to get rid of Fox. I don't want to get rid of Schneider. I don't want to get rid of Zach Jones. The only pieces that I see possibly being moved realistically are Lindgren or Miller. I think the easiest one would be Keandre Miller, just because after this season he's going to be a free agent, and we also already have to re-sign Lafreniere and Shesterkin, so to just have that, not have to worry about it, sounds nice. But I do think Miller is a very talented player. I don't want to give the wrong impression here. So maybe Lindgren, maybe Miller paired with Kakko, just 2 for 1. I could see it happening. Or you just package Kakko with a bunch of picks, a bunch of prospects, and see if Calgary is willing to bite. But if you, I mean, I don't know, you can share your thoughts, because I know you don't want to give up Miller and you'd rather Lindgren.
I mean, I don't want to give up Lindgren either, because I don't know what his contract situation is going on, but I mean, if worse comes to worse,
I don't want to cut you off, but
right.
Actually, never mind. I was going to tell you there was an update about what his contract might look like, but I was thinking of Braden Schneider. The Schneider one's going to be like a 2 or 3 year bridge deal worth like 2.5.
Yeah,
I don't know the Lindgren one, so I apologize. Keep going.
No, it's okay. I would say Lindgren, because it seems like his play has been a little bit declining a little bit. It's, we know he's a warrior on the ice, but his health has also been in question by people, just because, I know he comes back very quickly, but he has missed he has missed a bunch of games due to injury the past 2 years. So maybe instead of paying him, you save what you were going to pay him and give it to Miller next year. But I think that Lindgren would be the one to be put in there. Also, Miller's younger than him. But I think you definitely have to add a defenseman in that package with Kakko, and you'd probably have to add a mid-round pick, which the Rangers don't have many of. They don't have many second-round picks. I don't think they have a second-round pick until 2028 or something like that. But
Yep, it's 2028.
2028. So not a lot of mid-round picks to give up, but I think you'd have to go with Kakko, the rights to Lindgren's Ryan Lindgren's RFA rights. Sorry, I said that wrong. And then probably like a mid-round pick, like a third-round pick or something like that.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what happens with the whole Ryan Lindgren situation, because I know just a couple of days ago he did file for arbitration. So, maybe something will be worked out soon. It could be like a sign and trade right off the bat, kind of like what we were expecting to happen with Kakko. But, a couple of weeks have gone by and Kakko's still with the team. So, I don't know. Honestly, as much as I would like to see McKenzie Weegar come to the team, you factor in the amount of money that he's making and the fact that he's tenured on a contract that's going to go till he's 37.
Mm-hmm.
It might be best to kind of just let this one go. Like, I like Kakko. We talk about trading him like almost every episode on this channel nowadays, but it's not because I want to see him gone. It's just because, the Rangers are shopping him, and there are a few teams interested. And, we talked about potentially adding Lindgren or Miller into this deal. Honestly, yeah, that would probably it's probably what it would take to get it done. But I don't really want to trade away either of these defensemen. I love Lindgren, I love Miller. So I don't know. Honestly, I like Weegar. If we could trade like a bag of pucks for him, I'd be so happy. I think it'd be a great upgrade to our defensive core. But I don't know. I'm gonna flip right here and just say that I don't know if it's worth it. I don't want a 37-year-old defenseman making like over $6 million on my team 7 years from now. So I don't know. Like, are you in on this, or are you like, do you have concerns?
I'm not in on it. In my opinion, I do like Weegar. I think he is a very talented defenseman, but he's 30. He'd have 7 years left on his contract, and you'd be paying him $6.25 million for the next 7 years. And in that 7 years, you're gonna have a guy like you're gonna have EJ Emery come up. You'd have to pay him too. So it's just clogging up spots, I guess. And also, he's 30 already, so it's like, do you really want a 34-year-old defenseman or 35-year-old defenseman clogging up for guys in the future. I know like most people are going to be like, who cares? It's in the future. We want to win a cup now. But if you see what the Rangers are doing, they like their prospects. So I don't know if I would do it.
Like it sounds like it would be one of those deals that would like heavily benefit us for like 2 seasons while this cup window is open. And then 5 years from now, we've got like another Trouba situation where we just have this old bum on the team that we just can't get rid of because he makes so much.
Just like a big contract that you can't move. Yeah. So to me, it doesn't make much sense, but I do like Weegar and I would love him on this team, but I just don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that this must sound like really weird to everyone watching, if anyone is still watching at this point of the video. We just spent 15 minutes like talking about why it'd be a good fit and what it would take to make it happen. And now we're sitting here being like, nah, never mind, not worth it. But that's the beauty of chatting with you. It's a flow, and I'm building my opinion as we discuss. So, but yeah, so I guess we'll lean towards it'd be cool, but nah. Like, we're good. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like the same thing as like Connor McDavid. Like, it'd be so awesome to see him play for the Rangers, but we would have to give up like the like the deed to MSG for it. I'm like, no thanks.
There was one time I was talking with a friend and I gave a realistic package for McDavid and I still said no to it. Like, it was a great package and it was no.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, too much for not enough, in my opinion. But yeah, so we're gonna say no, but we're curious to see how you guys feel about it in that comment section. So please fill that thing up. We love reading how you guys feel about all the potential trades. Before we wrap up, please make sure that you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you miss notification, and be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. Most importantly, though, have a good one, and let's go Rangers.